of the Netherlands for her statement. I now give the floor to Ms. Manjeet Kripalani, Executive Director of Gateway House, Indian Council on Global Relations, and co-chair and author of T20 Task Forces on Multilateralism and Digital Transformation, who has joined us through a live video link.
Thank you. Excellencies and friends, good morning and greetings from Mumbai, India's business capital, and from Gateway House, a foreign policy think tank started by two women. In the midst of the cruel second wave of the pandemic, I see rays of hope offered by technology and digital solutions. The pandemic is making clear two things. One, that digitalization will power the developing world out of an economic crisis. And second, that digitalization of the medium, small and micro sector is a necessary ingredient for this. Four reasons for this good news. First, the pandemic has accelerated economic reforms in many developing countries. Second, social distancing has accelerated the adoption of digitalization by governments, companies, consumers, educational institutions, and NGOs. Third, the decreasing cost of technology and prediction makes it accessible and possible. And lastly, platforms are the new institutions, now easier to build and participate in. At the cusp of this new era, how can we ensure equity and a level playing field in digitalization? There are some challenges. Digitalization is still fundamentally different in developed and developing countries. First, there's the difference between access and usage of technology. The developed world issue is usage, that is, consumer privacy, security, data, protection, productivity, and the developing world needs access, digital availability, affordability, and usage of infrastructure. Second, there's a hard and soft infrastructure gap. Hard includes devices, electricity, telecom, servers, data centers. Soft includes digital platforms, content, legal and policy measures across value chains. The developing world lacks both. Third, the world is tied down to three approaches: proprietary digital platforms owned by a few private players, a government-mandated system, and a broad regulation for consumers disconnected from their needs. A universalist approach is necessary to reconcile these worlds. One way is by making digitalization a public good, available, affordable, accessible, auditable, scalable, with privacy embedded in its design. The UN Secretary General has laid this out in a substantive roadmap for digital cooperation. A ready and demonstrated model of digital public goods is available in India in the form of India Stack, a set of open, modular, interoperable protocols, building blocks that allow governments, businesses, startups, and developers to utilize a unique digital infrastructure to solve hard problems. It's like the public highways which governments finance and build, on which private and public vehicles can drive, commerce can thrive, and people can prosper. The base of this is a biometric identity connected to bank accounts through which citizens receive services and subsidies, from pensions to remittances, licenses to food rations. The identity stores the digital records, but consent of sharing data lies with the individual. It's been tested during the pandemic across India's vast, diverse population and at continental scale, with food rations for migrant workers, vaccines taken, and digital certificates provided. Efforts are underway globally to adopt all or part of this model. The Philippines, Morocco, Ethiopia are working with MOSIP, or the Modular Open Source Identity Program, a not-for-profit foundation offering the open source code. The UN High-Level Panel for Digital Cooperation has endorsed MOSIP in its June 2020 report. Once the pandemic ends, the focus will be on getting people back to work. And this is where digital public goods are critical, especially to revive the MSMEs. In developing countries, they are plagued by low digitalization and poor access to low-cost and easily available credit. In the absence of data, the costs of reaching these MSMEs, underwriting, monitoring, and repayment of risks of small-sized loans makes it difficult for lenders to provide credit. India is democratizing credit flows to MSMEs while simultaneously driving digitalization within them. This is Microfinance 4.0. Building blocks such as the Open Credit Enablement Network bring together private participants like app-based companies, credit scoring, mutual funds, insurance, telcos, which can all innovate across the entire lending value chain. A word about sustainability. Massive digitalization requires mountains of silicon chips, magnets, and batteries, which need rare earths and lithium, all very difficult to mine. Data centers are responsible for 1% of global energy consumption. Chip making is water intensive and the chemicals are polluting. The need of the hour is, yes, more digitalization, but also innovation for a smart, non-polluting chip. Till that comes, we hope democratic digitalization will create new tiger economies across continents, in the Indo-Pacific, Africa, South America, the Caribbean. It's more possible now than ever